Global Peace Foundation. The Reverend Haya, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, and then joining us via Zoom from Lokoja, that's the confluence town, Comrade Mukhtar Akosile is of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. Comrade Akosile, pleasure to have you around.
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everyone in the studio.
Okay.
You still with
Yeah, Juma, no, I think we start off from our Kaduna Network Center. Okay. That just might be. The Reverend John Joseph Hayab, we've been talking about ethnic tension. We hear stories of farmers, herders clashes, and the resort now to self-help and the kind of heat that has also been generated, plus, of course, the usual flare-ups involving various religious groups. We started this conversation on Tuesday, and a number of guests have proffered their own solutions as to what we could do as a country so that we focus more on issues of development, peace and progress. What is your perspective on what needs to be done to get us out of this perpetual mode of ethnic tension and religious animosity?
Yeah, if we want to get out of these divisions that have been created in Nigeria, we have to first admit where we went wrong. Was that how it used to be before? Were Nigerians this divided? Even with the Civil War, was there no some sense of unity in northern Nigeria, in southern Nigeria? Efforts were put in place after the Civil War to unite Nigerians and to bring people together. See, what went wrong that today everybody just talk about his tribe, everybody just talk about his village, everybody just talk about his private identity, not talking about this Nigeria that our fathers fought to unite, this Nigeria that our parents sacrificed their life to make it one. Let me tell you the line of the general when he was speaking in the first or second segment of this program. He keeps saying that I like. He said, let's be honest to ourselves. What went wrong? I think our failure to speak truth to ourselves about where we went wrong, things we did that were not right, is the reason why ethnic tensions and divisions keep growing, expanding all over Nigeria. I've always said this, and I want to repeat here, that it is sad that as deliberately create division among us, dividing us on ethnic line, dividing us on religious line, and the other line you want to mention, purposely to cover the evil they have done to us, the poor governance that they are giving us, and the way they have stolen our. Because in this country, people are so divided to the extent that even if someone steals our money, if someone takes away what belongs to us, instead of us confronting him as Nigeria, the first thing you hear is that no, he's not your tribe. You're accusing him because he's not of your religion. And when it comes to serious issues that collectively as Nigerians we're supposed to address, collectively as Nigerians we're supposed to voice out, we cannot voice out. Earlier in your report from Kagara, I like one part of the report. I like many parts of the report, but let me just cite one. You ask your reporter whether he has get touch with the family of the people who our children were taken away. And he said something that, look, one reverend is taking us to the home of the child that was killed. In other words, when we have crises like this, we are no longer having our different tribes. We no longer talk about religion. We talk about humanity. We talk about our collective togetherness. If we continue to approach our crisis, addressing it as a collective problem, as a collective challenge, we will solve it. But because there is already a seed of division going on all over the country, we didn't look at our problem from a collective challenge, a problem that we all need to work together to solve, or a problem that we all need to work together to find solution to. We begin to use ethnicity, we begin to use religion or region or certain identities to divide people. We at the Global Peace Foundation preach that human beings are members of one family under God. I'm a pastor. My Bible tells me that when God created the world, he created the world. There was nothing like Christian and Muslim. When God created the world, there was nothing like northern people or southern people. God created humanity. And when we come to the New Testament, where the Bible says, for God so loved the world, the love God had for the world and sent Jesus Christ had no religion, had no boundaries. Where do we get all these boundaries that today have divided us? We can't look at issues objectively. We try to paint it in religion. We try to paint it with ethnicity. And we have so much divide our people. Look at what is happening to our children. Those children don't know all this identity, but they are suffering in the hands of evil people who have taken advantage of our division and are causing pains all over the country.
Reverend John, I'm still staying with you. I have always believed that Nigeria, when it comes to religion or ethnicity, we cannot be divided on that because Nigerians are very religious people. And the slogan, in our diversity lies our strength, does it still apply to this country?
Slogan is there in writing, but in practice, we don't see it. I think that is where I brought up my first argument, that in practice, our leaders have deliberately divided us because they have an agenda that we don't know, or they have deliberately, or political elites have deliberately divided us for a sentiment that we cannot explain. But I've always explained by saying that one, they did that deliberately so that once they steal our commonwealth, we cannot collectively challenge them and tell them you're wrong. Once they do not perform well in governance, we cannot tell them they're wrong, because when you start challenging them, someone will remind you that, no, you are doing this because the man in governance is not from your tribe, or the man in leadership is not your religion. But a bad governor is a bad governor. A bad president is a bad president. A bad security chief is a bad security chief. So when we need to come back, many years back, there was this love between Christians and Muslims in Kaduna State, where I belong. I used to know that it was a thing of pride for you to go to school, a boarding house in Katsina State or somewhere in far north Nigeria, and come back and tell people of your village about one TJ you met in school, one Salisu you met in school, one Hamisu you met in school. And Hamisu will also go back to his place and tell them about one John he met in school, one Joseph, they were their classmate, or one Esther, or one Grace. Today, it is not the case. There are issues surrounding this, but I want us to look at how the relationship then was good. They went out of this country under the federal government scholarship or whatever scholarship. They schooled together, get trained, and come back and serve as Nigerians. But today, these same privileged people are telling their children something different about their neighbors. They are telling their children not to trust. And I belong to a group that should also be blamed, the religious group. Most of us preachers are not honest, because a preacher who comes out to the public and say, no, Christians and Muslims are brothers, but go to his mosque or to his church and tell them not to trust these ones because they are kafiri, or not to trust this one because they are infidels or they are unbelievers. Such a preacher is not doing well to the country. Such a preacher is not helping the nation. Such a preacher is not even projecting or displaying God that he claimed to be preaching in the right way, because God loves everybody. You remember the by Desmond Tutu, that God is not a Christian. God is God. God is for every human being. God is for the man you do not share the same tribe with. So we must learn to embrace one another, working together as members of one family. The blood that runs in our veins do not have a tribe, do not have a religion.
The Reverend John Hayab, thank you very much there for your comments. Let's bring in now Comrade Mukhtar Akosile of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. Our perspective on this segment, Audrey, was going to focus on the role of the youth. And you listen to the illustration by the Reverend Hayab. He's saying, look, and we've had this in the 3 days that we've been discussing this subject, that the younger generation would appear they are being socialized into these ethnic and religious fault lines, a sense of otherness. No. She's a Muslim. No. He's a Christian. No. He's not from my state. That person is also not from my state. Some young persons have no belief anymore in some of the institutions and programs that were created for purposes of the national unity, such as the NYSC. From the youth perspective, quite aside from the misuse of the social media, what do you think needs to be done for us to deconstruct the mentality that is solidifying about our ethnic and religious fault lines?
Thank you for having me. It is a fact that religious and ethnic dichotomy, it's very worrisome in the context of the projects of building Nigeria of today. But as young people and leaders of youth in Nigeria, we have continuously advocated for the fact that institutions of government that have been established to unite Nigerians should be strengthened. I'm happy you mentioned the National Youth Service Corps, which was established in 1972 or thereabout. That institution is supposed to be strengthened. It is an institution that is supposed to unite young Nigerians from the West, from the South, from anywhere in the country together. I could remember when I did my youth service course some years ago, the outside guy, the Igbo guys I met, we are still very good friends till now. But if we finish from NYC and young people are trying to secure a job and they say there's an institution called federal character, and when you see a commissioner or a chairman in such a government institution holding unemployment, holding onslaught of jobs to his own constituent alone, where other people are supposed to benefit, then what is the benefit of such a federal character? When you have government employment or government appointment that does not reflect the principle of a such federal character, so which tension are we trying to douse? The issue of state origin, the issue of I come from here, I come from there, should be eradicated. If you want to get the job or you want to be placed in governance of government position in Nigeria, it should be on merit. Merit should come first before you think or talk about where you come from, where you belong to. So in trying to build unity and sincerity of purpose within young people, we need to address issues that divides us in principle, not in politics. For instance, we are talking about unemployment. Oil is not sufficient to create wealth for us in Nigeria. We are supposed to diversify on agriculture. How many programs has our government put in place for such a purpose? Now, let me give you an example. There is a community policing. A community policing is supposed to cater for the security of our environment. And the principle of community policing is that you should know your neighbor so that your neighbor should know people who come to perpetrate violence within the environment. But to our surprise, people who were even employed or who were appointed in the constabulary police, as such to say, were even on basis on who knows who. It doesn't reflect the principle of the community policing. I am on the board of FCT Community Policing. I do not even know the selection of the process. If I stay in this environment and I cannot be given the opportunity to bring people who are in that vicinity to work as a constabulary police, then what is the purpose when you now go and bring someone who has just came from Lagos, who has just came from Edo, and give him uniform and say you are a constabulary police? Then what are you constabulary? So when we talk about involvement of youth in dousing tension, give those youth, give them the opportunity to take their future in their hands. We are all gathered in Kogi State for a program yesterday. It is also because we want to unite this nation. For example, in Lagos State, you see commissioners that are not Lagosians. You see essays that are not from Lagos. It is also for the purpose of unity. It is for the purpose of uniting. But when you say you finish job and you are in federal character, you are looking for job. There's an allegation that the chairman of Federal Character Commission recently gave a job to herself, half of the stuff that came to our constituent alone. And all the other commissioners wrote to Mr. President. And what has been done? It has been killed. We have not heard about Mr. President or any other person looking into that kind of allegation. Then what do you want young people to learn from such a thing? So it is very unfortunate that Kagara schools adoption happened. I sympathize with the state government. I sympathize with young people of Nigeria, and I sympathize with the families of those that lost their life. But we should not wait until such an incident happens before proactive measures are being taken. Let us put young people in leadership position so as to get the real to put them in shape so they can join hand in making sure that this Nigeria is better for us all. So that is my opinion on dousing the tension. NYC should be strengthened. Federal Character Commission and other agencies of government that deals with issue of ethnicity or religion should be strengthened. And our religious leaders should be called together once in a while to give them seminars on how to relate to their people. I cannot remember when last that Nigerian, or maybe there's an essay to Mr. President on religion to say, okay, we are calling on all religious leaders to come to. I know in those days, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I used to see Reverend Puka and the chief imam of the National Mosque coming together to provide solutions on how we can harmonize ourselves within the religious tolerance. But now I cannot remember when such conferences were held. I also remember in those days that all traditional rulers will come together and hold seminar. The only thing I see now is traditional rulers going to the villa one after the other to see Mr. President. Is it Mr. President that's supposed to come and hold peace to talk to you? They are veterans. They are people who can sit down and provide solutions within themselves. So we should not politicize this issue. If we want to kill the issue of sentiment within ethnic and religion, we should nail it straight. We should not be politicized about the project Nigeria because it's affecting us. Our future is not secure. We cannot move on the road. We cannot open our eyes. We cannot close our eyes and sleep. We are tired. Nigeria government should come to our aid. The youth are not happy about the happenings in the country. We are not just happy.
All right. Akosile, thank you very much for your views. Just to indicate that this is a live program, and the Nigerian Television Authority cannot independently confirm the allegation you made about the Federal Character Commission in terms of the slots that were given out for appointments, and then the petition that was also drafted, according to you, to the president. We have no way of independently verifying that, and so we will resile out of that illustration that you gave. Otherwise, the other points you've made are noted. All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll come back to our two guests in the studios to also get their views.
Thanks for joining us, and this is still Good Morning Nigeria. We're discussing dousing ethnic and religious tension in Nigeria. Dr. Kabir, when Nigeria was agitating for independence, most of the agitators were not up to 30 years old. They fought for Nigeria's independence, and we got it. Now, our youths are there as political talks, as miscreants, menace to society, and I begin to ask the question, even with the initiatives out there by President Muhammadu Buhari to tackle youth's restiveness, where are the youths in the scheme of things in this country?
Thank you, Jungmei. When we celebrated our 60th independence anniversary, the theme of that celebration was togetherness. And instinctively, what came to my mind then was, it's good, it's a good platform, but my recommendation is to take that togetherness forward. There are three things that the world is talking about at the moment: diversity, equity, and inclusion, or you could put DEI. Now, we need to take that forward. When you ask where the youths are, I believe Nigerian youths, the majority of them are hardworking. Is it not a Nigerian youth that created a fintech that was sold for how many? It's a Nigerian youth. Yes. When Mark Zuckerberg came to Lagos, came to Nigeria, he saw the potential in Nigerian youth. So there are multitudes of Nigerian youth that are doing well. But there is a component of the Nigerian youth that we've neglected. And they say Nigerian youth designed Fort Edge too. Exactly. And he's now actually a minister or heading a parastatal in Nigeria. That same person that designed that fort is here in Nigeria. Yes, he's heading the automotive, I've forgotten the name of that organization. He's from Sokoto State, and someone I know quite well. Jelani Aliyu. So we have youth that have potential, but for us to bring them into the mainstream of our industry, we need to do those three things I mentioned. Manage our diversity, inclusion by empowering them, and then, of course, diversity, inclusion, and equity. If we want to douse the tension, those are the ways to go. Once we're able to do these three things, I believe the tension will be doused. But if a certain segment of the population continue to amass wealth at the detriment of the majority, then frankly, that ethnic tension will continue to rise.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kabir Adamo. General Temlong. Youth is a cardinal requirement for enlistment into the armed forces. And it's often been said that in general, the Nigerian military continues to represent and demonstrate unity. What are the lessons that the general populace can learn from the military so that we can douse these ethnic and religious tensions?
Well, thank you very much. I think part of the lessons that we can learn from the military is that once you get into the academy, because we come in based on quota from the states, but you are given equal opportunities. The quota ends from entrance. So what you do, your performance itself starts propelling you from that area. Nobody cares whether you are from Edo, Plateau, and the rest. And so I think we need to give that equal opportunity to the Nigerian youth. The conspiracy by the political elite to throw them into touting is a result of corruption. And unless we deal with that corruption, we'll continue to have the youth being paid as touts, being paid as, if you go to the social media, it's sometimes you almost lose hope. But the Nigerian youth, like we said, are very vibrant. They are creative. They can be matched with any youth anywhere in the world, but we have stifled them, and we will not be able to mentor them. We will not be able to provide the space for them. You see our grandparents are still competing for space with the youth. And I think it's time for them to have taken the back seat, to have seen that those they mentored are equal to what they have done. So I think leadership as a whole is about mentoring and handing over. And I believe that our elders now should start thinking of taking the back seat. They shouldn't be carrying their CVs. They shouldn't be going to the ballot box, being on the ballot box and the rest. We should be able to give them the way. General Gawan said it, the group of them that fought the civil war and led Nigeria were in their 20s and 30s, just like you said, the independence group. And it meant that what has changed in the Nigerian youth? Nothing per se. Rather, in fact, they are more educated now than those of them who were there then. So we must be able to harness these resources that we have and use it for national development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, General John Temlong, first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force and former president of the Alumni Association of the Nigerian Defense College and security consultant. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
We also thank Dr. Kabir Adamu, our regular security risks management expert. Thank you, as usual, for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you for your input. We also thank our correspondent in Kagara, Abdullahi Mohammed, for giving us an insight over the situation now. And Comrade Mukhtar Akwesili, Vice President, National Youth Council of Nigeria, thank you for joining us. And Reverend John Joseph Hayab, Country Representative, Global Peace Foundation. It's been a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria. And that's the show for today. Do not join us again tomorrow. I am Juma Yusuf.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo.